When we think of infamous events in history, we often recall the images we've seen. The dramatic footage, the screaming headlines, the summarized story. But beneath those surface details lie truths far more disturbing, far more unsettling than most of us ever knew. These are the events that haunt survivors, that historians sometimes gloss over, and that remind us how deep human darkness can go. The Jonestown Massacre. More than just suicide. You've probably heard of Jim Jones and the 1978 Jonestown Massacre in Guyana. Over 900 people died after drinking poison punch. But what most people don't know is that many didn't drink willingly. Investigators later found that children were poisoned first by their own parents. Armed guards stood by to ensure compliance. Those who resisted were injected or shot. The chaos wasn't peaceful. It was screaming, panic, and forced death. It wasn't mass suicide. It was mass murder. The Chernobyl disaster, the hidden toll. Chernobyl is synonymous with nuclear catastrophe. But the horror goes far beyond the explosion. Many first responders didn't know what they were walking into. Firefighters extinguishing the reactor fires stood barefoot in radioactive water. Some dying within days, their bodies so radioactive they were buried in sealed lead coffins. And the long-term impact? Thousands of babies born with severe deformities. Entire towns abandoned. And a Soviet cover-up that risked the lives of millions across Europe. It wasn't just an accident. It was a disaster multiplied by denial. The Rwandan genocide. Neighbors turned executioners. The 1994 Rwandan genocide is often reduced to ethnic violence. But what's often left out is just how personal it was. Over 800,000 people were murdered in 100 days by their own neighbors. Ordinary citizens were handed machetes and told to kill. Radio broadcasts called Tutsis cockroaches and instructed people on how to find and murder them. Churches, once places of sanctuary, became slaughterhouses. The violence wasn't random. It was intimate, face-to-face horror driven by propaganda and fear. The My Lai Massacre, America's hidden war crime. In 1968, during the Vietnam War, American soldiers entered the village of My Lai. What followed was one of the darkest stains in U.S. military history. Over 500 unarmed civilians, mostly women, children, and the elderly, were systematically murdered. Many were raped before being killed. Infants were thrown into ditches and shot. It wasn't an accident. It was an execution. And it was covered up for over a year until a whistleblower forced the world to see the truth. The Great Chinese Famine, starvation as a political weapon. Between 1959 and 1961, China experienced a famine that killed between 15 to 45 million people. Officially, it's remembered as a natural disaster. But in reality, it was the result of Mao Zedong's policies under the Great Leap Forward. Communes were forced to exaggerate their crop yields. As a result, the government seized too much grain, leaving rural communities to starve. People resorted to eating bark, clay, and even the dead. Cannibalism wasn't rare. It became a desperate act of survival. The Bhopal gas tragedy. The night the air turned to poison. In 1984, a gas leak at a pesticide plant in Bhopal, India, released a cloud of deadly methyl isocyanate into the air. Over 500,000 people were exposed. Thousands died that night, choking in their sleep, vomiting blood, or being blinded by the toxic cloud. The aftermath was even worse. Children were born with twisted limbs, missing eyes, and underdeveloped organs. And the company responsible, Union Carbide, escaped full accountability. To this day, toxic chemicals still contaminate the site. It's not just a past tragedy, it's an ongoing nightmare. We remember not to glorify the pain, but to ensure it's never repeated. Which of these stories shocked you the most? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more updates.